Welcome to the October 20th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm Walt Kudo, President's Club, and I'm Paul Harris Bell. Our meeting this week is on October 20th, 10/20. What's your 10/20? Y'all have heard that before, right? Literally, Rotary's at Joe's Palm Room today on 10/20 on West Jefferson. Where are we? We're found doing what Rotary does, conducting informative meetings like last week's 3rd District Congressional Forum, and performing significant community service like mentoring of Western Iroquois high schools. This week we have the privilege of hearing from one of our own, Ingrid Hernández, a multiple award-winning Hispanic woman business owner who will share her journey with us. I can't wait, so let's get on with the meeting. Please silence your phones at this time. This week we've lost 2 dear members of our Rotary. Dustin Rumbaugh passed away on October the 9th. He joined our club as an emerging leader in April, so he was a very young person. A small visitation was held for his immediate family. Dustin loved animals. His sister suggested any memorial donations be made to the Kentucky Humane Society. And on the other end of the spectrum, we've lost one of our long-standing members, Roger Dalton, passed away on October the 15th. I had more emails from members telling me of his passing. Thank you. Each person sending the notice said he was one of the finest people they had ever known. I agree. Roger was president of National City Bank and a member of the Lexington Club for many years. He then transferred to our club. I don't have the date, but he was a Rotarian in 4 different decades and named Rotary's educational programs as his beneficiary. His visitation is tomorrow from 5 to 7 at Pearson's on Breckenridge Lane. There's also a memorial service at Saturday at 2 p.m. at Highland Pres. So let's observe a moment of silence for each of these Rotarians gone. Providing our invocation today is Judd Hendricks, Executive Director of Interfaith Past Peace and Chair of the Invocation Committee. Welcome, Judd.
Thank you, Walt. Welcome, everyone. Before I do the invocation, I do want to say I am on the Invocation Committee Chair, and we are needing folks to do this. So afterwards, if you feel called to lead in the invocation here, please come up and see me and we'll sign you up. As part of the invocation, I want to hold those that we've just mentioned that have passed, that are part of our community. Also, kind of in honor of Ingrid, want to hold the people of Puerto Rico who have experienced the hurricanes, and I know we're rebuilding from that space. So as I read, let's just hold those people in our hearts and awareness. I'm going to read a reading from Thich Nhat Hanh, who actually passed away. He was a Buddhist monk, passed away in January. His birthday was just a few days ago, and so he's kind of been on my heart and mind. And the invocation is a chance for us to try to connect to that spirit, that life, that energy that connects all of us, and that is the source of us. And this reading, I think, allows us to rest in that place. It's called, Please Call Me by My True Names. Don't say that I will depart tomorrow. Even today I am still arriving. Look deeply every second I am arriving. To be a bud on a spring branch. To be a tiny bird with still fragile wings, learning to sing in my new nest. To be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding itself in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, to hear and to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and the death of all that is alive. I am the mayfly metamorphosizing on the surface of the river, and I am the bird that swoops down to swallow the mayfly. I am the frog swimming happily in clear water of a pond, and I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. I am a child in Uganda, all skin and bones, my legs as thin as bamboo sticks. And I am the arms merchant, selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl refugee on a small boat who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I am the pirate, my heart yet not capable of seeing and loving. I am a member of the Politico with plenty of power in my hands, and I am the man who has to pay the debt of blood to my people dying slowly in forced labor camps. I am the woman rebuilding her windblown home in Puerto Rico, and I am the man who continues to consume and produce, blind to its effects. My joy is like spring, so warm it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like the river of tears, so vast it fills the four corners. Please call me, please call us by our true names, so that we can hear all of my cries and all of my laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and my pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up and see the door of the heart of my heart remain open, open to the door of compassion. May it be so.
Thank you, Fred. Now to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test is Carlos Hernandez Ocampo, Managing Partner for Emergence Law and a native of Cuba.
Thank you for that. Well, hold face the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if you will accompany me now in the four-way test.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Everybody be seated. And I love Carlos's reaction. If you're a member of the Rotary Club or Rotary Fund Board, please stand. We appreciate your leadership. So I know some of y'all, come on now. There's some back in the back. Thank you all. Thank you for your service. It's always a pleasure to welcome our guests. Rotarians, please take this time to introduce yourself first, then your guests. Guests, please stand to be recognized when your name is called.
I will start off. Delene Taylor, Executive Director of the club, and I've had a couple of guests here today. One is Nick Garner. He found us online, I believe, and he is a front-end web developer with MITRE. Am I saying it correctly? He and his partner bought a house in Louisville after falling in love with our city, following a 3-month stay in the fall of 2020. He spends his non-working time volunteering for various political and non-political campaigns with a focus on improving the general good, and started playing hockey, but he's pretty bad at it. Thank you for joining us, Nick. Everybody say hello when you get a chance. And Debbie Erdoff with Simonin. What's your official title? Director of Business Development or Corporate Business Development with Simonin Relocation. So thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Linda Barger-Moore, and I am Chair of Interact and Vice Chair of Rotary Honors Scholars, best organization on the planet. And I have brought my husband, Gary Moore.
Hi, my name is Patty Whiter. I'm a consulting psychologist with Sherman Psychology, and I brought my friend Bonnie Logston, who is a lactation consultant and registered dietitian. She owns a private practice where she works with new parents and also hosts a new parent group at Glow Work Play Cafe. Chairman Wald, Molly Smith with the Archdiocese of Louisville. My guest today is Colin Triplett. Colin is the Resettlement Director at Catholic of Charities here in Louisville.
President Wald, fellow Rotarians, my name is Karen Morrison. My guest today is Angela Katz. She is a teacher at the Francis Parker School and was known in my household for many years as Senora Katz.
I've taught my children Spanish, all three of them. And she is from Ukraine and is working with a group of Ukrainian refugees, and you've all heard a little bit about that. Several Rotarians are trying to get involved and help with that, so if you're interested, let me know.
President Wells, I'm David Burkholder. My guest this morning is David Graves. David is a former member of this club. He retired a couple of years ago and moved out of town for a short period of time, and he's back now, and hopefully he will be rejoining this organization.
President Walls, I am Ingrid Hernández, our speaker today, and my guest today is Kelly Lococo. She is my business manager, my right hand, my leader in operations, and the business cannot survive without her. She's really the one that kind of makes everything move and happen. And Kelly has been with us 13 years now, so she's very important to the business. If anybody has any marketing needs, talk to her, not me. Thank you.
Yes, if you're interested in becoming a Rotarian, after the meeting, right here down front, Craig Sherman. Where's Craig? Craig will be here sometimes. He's always here. Anyway, down front, and we'll do the What is Rotary session. Next, I'd like to invite Julie Schmidt, Senior Director of External Affairs at KET, Apollo Harris Fellow, and one of the best darn presidents we've ever had, on the stage to make announcements today.
It's so good to be with everybody on this glorious October day. So we've got lots of announcements. I'm going to go quick. So here we go. The Economic Mobility Summit is the 6th annual. Will be held at the Louisville Central Community Center tomorrow, better known as Kevin's Place. I know Kevin's here in the audience. That's tomorrow, October 21st. As part of the program agenda, our own past president, Luke Schmidt, will be speaking about the Rotary Club of Louisville's West Louisville Housing Initiative. In addition, our club is sponsoring the Economic Development Award as part of the Light the Way Entrepreneurial Excellence Awards program that will be held immediately following in the early evening. We'd love to have you there, and it's not too late. So there's a link in Sparks if you'd like to register, or reach out to Delene. I know she'll find a way to get you registered. So we encourage anyone who's interested to please join us for that important event. We'd also excited about Rotary being in the spotlight this week. We were featured with the Kentucky Waterways Alliance's press event. It was held on a great lawn right down on the waterfront in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act. The Rotary Club of Louisville is partnering with Kentucky Waterways, and it's a multi-year event, or effort, I should say, of saving our rivers. Fund Chair Gene West was on hand to present a big check representing our $3,000 grant award from the fund, which you all are all a part of that, so thank you for your contribution. Repair a Fair. What a wonderful event that is. We want to thank to all that participated in that special service project. The photos that were in Sparks were just fantastic. I know it warmed my heart to see all in action, and we really appreciate those that were there and for their service and dedication. The next Repair a Fair event will be held in April of 2023, something to look forward to if you can participate. And I'm also pleased to highlight Mission at Work. Our own Denise Sears, she's just amazing, and due in large part to a Rotary connection, her organization, Supplies Overseas, was able to send $172,000 worth of supplies to Florida to help with the Hurricane Ian cleanup. So hats off to Denise and her unbelievable team for their service and impact. Mark your calendars and plan to attend the new member celebration. It's going to be scheduled for Wednesday, November the 9th, 5 to 7 at a really cool place, 1020 Craft Brewery in Butchertown. And we want everyone to come. Everyone's invited. It'll be a great opportunity to meet great old Rotarians that you already knew, that you haven't seen in a while, and to meet the new members. So everyone, mark your calendar and try to make that.
It is the 9th, not the 10th. I'm sorry, I typoed.
Yeah, I think I said the 9th.
You said 9th.
Okay.
It's wrong on the screen.
Okay, the 9th. We'll get that. So I'm also really excited that our Thanksgiving meeting with the Kiwanis group is back. This is an annual tradition of our Rotary Club. The meeting will take place on Tuesday, November the 22nd, at the Ottoman Country Club. The cost is $35, and we want everyone to please RSVP as soon as you know you can make it. There is a hard deadline that Colleen needs to turn in the count by November the 7th. So that's a really fun, energized event, so we hope you can come to the Ottoman Country Club. And again, a reminder, we won't be meeting, obviously it's Thanksgiving that week, but that Tuesday, and it will be a special time. Sparks is really amazing, the work and effort that our staff is putting into this publication. I know it takes a lot of work, especially to net it down so we can all know what's going on. So I encourage everyone, make sure when it gets in your inbox, save it so we have some time to scroll all the way down through, so we're making sure to communicate all of the work of our club. And I also want to wish my fellow Rotarians that are October birthday babies, happy birthday everyone. They're all listed in Sparks, so thanks everybody.
Thank you, Julie. And the typo on the 1020, 1120, where was the location? 1020. I did that on purpose because it's 1020 today, right? Where are you? We're going to be at 1020 Brewery on November the 9th. You got it. All right. Y'all don't know if I made that up or not, right? There you go. Keep you guessing. Monday is World Polio Day. Look for Lynn's Soccer Stadium and other buildings around Louisville to be lighted purple for polio awareness. And we have a special guest today to give us a brief polio update. Please welcome Dr. Bethany Hodge, Infectious Disease Branch Manager for the Kentucky Department for Public Health. She is also an Associate Professor of Pediatrics and Director of Global Education Office at the University School of Medicine and Pediatric Hospitals for Norton's Children's Hospital. Welcome, Dr. Hodge.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be with all of you. And as you heard, I wear a lot of hats. Officially, I'm with the Kentucky Department for Public Health today, but I can field questions on all the other things as well. And I'm realizing that I've gotten very used to Zoom and not very used to real people. So, I guess. So I have this very short slide set just to keep myself on track. And I did label it Polio in 2022. Why is one case a crisis? Next slide. So brief history, which I know a lot of you are very familiar with, but this is something that we've been dealing with as a human population for a very long time. 1864, we had our first U.S. polio outbreak that was described as infantile paralysis. In 1908, they identified the virus that caused polio, and in 1938, inspired by FDR and other things happening in America, the March of Dimes began as a fundraising way to find a vaccine. That was the goal then, to find the vaccine, because the worth and power of vaccines was already being recognized for other diseases like smallpox. 1952 to 1954, the Salk injectable polio vaccine started having a mass clinical trial, and it showed effectiveness and it led to quick licensing of that vaccine. 1960 to 1963, there were trials and licensing of the Sabin, or live oral polio vaccine, that also became popular because it was much easier to transport, much easier to give. Kids liked it better than a shot, and so it became another useful tool. In 1988, the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, of which the Rotary Club was a founding member, started with this unified goal across the world: let's get rid of polio. And it was seen as feasible and doable, and there was a lot of energy at that time. In 1994, wild-type polio was declared eradicated from the Americas, and that was a huge accomplishment. In 2000, we moved to injectable polio vaccine in the United States exclusively, and I'll show you a chart that shows you why, although the oral and live version is still used in some countries. This graph shows, you can see there's that steep drop-off in 2000. The previous cases of polio that were happening in the United States were actually related to the oral polio virus vaccine, because it does have a live attenuated virus in it. There were some people that got sick from that vaccine, and there is shedding, sorry to talk about food at lunch, but there is shedding from the GI tract that happens with that vaccine as well. You can see when we made the decision in the United States to go to exclusively injectable polio vaccine, we had that huge decrease such that polio really wasn't a thing anymore. And it was something that was falling off the radar of many physicians and parents and everyone across the United States. So as I said, vaccine-derived polio virus in that live attenuated vaccine can infect unvaccinated people. And so that starts to become important when we talk about how are we doing with blanket polio vaccination immunity in the United States. So this chart shows the polio vaccination among kindergartners. This is one of the very early vaccines that we give young children so that they're covered by the time they get to school. It's really variable across the United States. You can see those different densities of places where there is a lot of vaccination coverage and some where there are not so much. You can see that Kentucky is in one of the lighter blue colors and not on that chart. The case that we are dealing with, or that was noticed here in the United States, did happen in New York, and it was believed to be someone who had traveled from a country where oral live vaccine was used, was shedding that virus, and it infected someone who was unvaccinated here in the United States. Not all polio infections lead to the devastating paralysis that we associate with polio, but this one did. And so that's why it was a big deal. This is something we had eradicated, yet it was here. And as you can see again, New York as a state ranges from 52% to 92% coverage of polio vaccine immunization. And even within New York City, again, it's very patchy. There are places where there are very low vaccination rates, and that makes them incredibly vulnerable to things like imported polio virus, even the vaccine form. So where is polio happening in the world? As I have a picture here of that iron lung that we associate with polio. Afghanistan and Pakistan is considered endemic. It's there all the time. It's something that they know about, have to think about, and deal with every year. Malawi and Mozambique currently have wild-type polio outbreaks. It's not considered normal, but it could become normal if there is enough circulating virus that keeps happening in their countries. As we said, the vaccine-derived polio may be carried for some time. It doesn't lead to a lot of infections, but it's possible. And those 7 to 10 days, or 7 to 11 days where you're shedding the virus means that you could possibly infect other people. This is a picture of Sock actually injecting his own child with the polio vaccine. He tried it on himself and his family first. What does this mean for Kentucky? I think is a question that, in the Kentucky Department for Public Health, we're asking ourselves that. The risk for polio infection and the devastating consequences of polio infection are greatest to young children who live in unvaccinated communities. And the low rates of vaccination in the United States are usually due to community cultural factors. It's decisions made by communities and parents not to vaccinate their children. However, it should be noted that war, poverty, and isolation are really the major factors in a lot of other countries. These are people who may really want their child to be vaccinated, but they're unable to because they're in the middle of a war. Their roads have been washed out by a flood, or other types of things that affect them being able to get those vaccines for their children, making these pockets very vulnerable people. But we've also found in the United States, and if the road is washed out, that means we can't get any vaccines to those children. Low polio vaccination rates may coincide with low vaccine rates for all other vaccine-preventable diseases. So then we're talking about pertussis or whooping cough. We're talking about measles, which kills a lot of children, meningitis, chickenpox, and even influenza. So this is some data from Kentucky Department for Public Health, and I actually talked to the epidemiologist who is in charge of this data project, and I said, "Are you sure about this? Are you sure? We have some counties that have 50% or less polio vaccination in our state." I said, "Yes, I double-checked the data." So this is where we are at, but again, the spotty coverage, different places that have increased vulnerability. It's interesting, this epidemiologist, her name is Michelle, she's actually from Pakistan, and she said, "I've been one of those people going door to door with vaccine, with the oral polio vaccine. I've done this. I've never had a family say no. They've all said, thank you for coming and helping my children." But yet here in the United States, we have this very patchy coverage due to mostly cultural factors that is leading to those pockets of children being incredibly vulnerable. So why is one case a crisis? Why is this on the New York Times front page? Why are we making a big deal out of this? Well, for one thing, global travel means that any country is reachable within the shedding period of the oral polio virus. There is no place that is truly hedged off from potentially having that vaccine-derived virus in the environment. The wild-type virus may also increase just as we've seen. It's endemic in Afghanistan and Pakistan. It's present in Malawi and Mozambique. There may be more travel of the virus along with global travel. The vaccine-derived or wild-type polio can cause rapid outbreaks if it reaches that pocket of unvaccinated, unprotected people. And there are short-term healthcare effects on healthcare use. A large polio outbreak demands that public health, clinicians, hospitals all mobilize to deal with that outbreak. But there are very long-term effects for the patients. Those children that then became adults still had to stay in that iron lung. You never can get rid of that aid when you experience that type of infantile paralysis polio. So it's something that you don't just get over if you are in that category, you have a severe illness. And then there's also snowball effects in vulnerable populations and countries. Outbreak after outbreak, mistrust, distrust, separation from us as physicians trying to take care of them. The things that get in our way to wanting to be connected to our communities and do the most good can be affected by these issues with outbreaks, illness, and vaccine resistance. And the other reason why I want to say, why is one case a crisis? Because it can be prevented. And that's what a lot of the Rotary and good work has been doing in other organizations across the globe. This could not be. We could work on this. We have worked on this. We could be fixing this. We're losing some ground through the COVID-19 pandemic, through other cultural changes, through wars and poverty and other issues. It all impacts the ability for us to get vaccines to the vulnerable people and prevent these diseases that we know we can prevent. So I just want to say thank you for your ongoing work in polio eradication and encourage you, it's worth it. We can do it, but we do need to push again. It's not something where we can quite let up the gas yet, but we need to push forward with our efforts in global polio eradication. Thank you.
So you all know we were this close. We were this close. And in fact, Rotary was preparing announcements that in the year 2026, polio was going to be declared, wild polio virus was going to be declared eradicated from the face of the earth until these things happen. Now we're still this close. Now as Rotarians, I want you to know that Rotary raises $50 million a year, which is double matched by the Belinda and Mr. Gates, I just want to blame Bill Gates, thank you. Gates Foundation for $150 million a year to continue going door to door, particularly in Pakistan and Afghanistan, the two endemic places. But now, because it is just an airplane ride away, back in the United States, we need to keep vigilant on this. Your Rotary dollars, I believe our club gives about $5,000 a year. You give $5,000 a year to Polio Plus, which is on Monday, and this is our Polio Plus teddy bear that our District Governor Nancy Sturman fills with money, and we do lots of good things. So thank you all for that, and thank you for our public service announcement. Polio is not gone, but Rotary has been a founding member, and we are still this close. So someday, some Rotary president's not going to have to say we're this close. They're going to get to say it's gone. So let's keep up that work. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Maggie Harlow, co-owner of Sonorama Downtown, to the podium to introduce today's speaker. You've got a big week, don't you? You do too, right?
I get to watch, yes. Hi, everybody. It's great to be back. I have been absent a bit, so I might just show up tomorrow and just try to make up for all the time. Well, I'm thrilled to be here because I get to introduce a dear friend of mine, a mentor, an inspiration. Ingrid Hernández is the founder and president of INgrid Design. Her drive and ambition were inspired by her family, who left their native Cuba in the early 60s for San Juan, Puerto Rico, with little more than clothes on their backs. Ingrid pursued a career in graphic design at the prestigious Rhode Island School of Design. She worked in Massachusetts before moving to Louisville in 1992, where she worked for a couple of agencies before starting her own business from the bedroom in her house. Today, 20 years later, Ingrid has grown her company consistently and profitably, and recently expanded her office space for the third time with the purchase of an adjacent building. Just a few of the awards and honors bestowed on Ingrid and her company include GLI's Small Business of the Year Incredible Award, NABO's Epic for Lifetime Achievement Award, Women Business Owner of the Year Award, GLI's Enterprise Core Fast Dozen, Business First Fast 50. You don't have to rub it in, Ingrid. I haven't won any. Ingrid was included in the book 100 Fascinating Little Women, and thanks to her shoe collection, was the cover image of a USA Today weekend in 2014. All right, so there's a bunch of data for you guys, but I'm going to tell you what you really need to know about Ingrid. I've known her a long time. We started our businesses around the same time, but I'm not entirely sure when I met her. She's not like a typical person. She's really more like an experience. In the entire business community of Global, you will not find anyone remotely similar to her. She is quintessentially one of a kind. She's the kind of person who radiates positivity and joy no matter what the circumstances. She's the kind of person who can simultaneously be confident and vulnerable. She's the kind of person who's a creative powerhouse, but only brings humility to the conversation. She's the kind of person who lights up a room with her laughter, her signature purple, and her incredibly enchanting accent. Whether I am seeking professional advice, wanting to have a laugh over coffee, or needing help with a project, she's a go-to source. Unfailingly honest, hardworking, earnest, and just really fun to know. I am thrilled to introduce Ingrid! Oh my gosh, she's gonna make me cry. That was my goal. All right. Hola, Rotarios. I am extremely honored to share my story with you today. The topic around my story is empower, because I believe that each one of us has the power to make things happen, even when things are challenging. But I will also touch on the topic of branding, because as a graphic designer, that is what I do. I would like to start by sharing something about the island of enchantment, my Puerto Rico, where I grew up. Close your eyes and imagine you are in the island at night. It is dark, and all you can see is the stars in the sky, and the only sound you hear is this. This unique sound comes from the coqui, a frog about the size of a quarter, not this big. And he can only live in Puerto Rico. The coqui sings very loudly all night long, like this. And his voice is so powerful that it reaches everyone on the island. And it is a small island, but it's got quite a bit of mileage. The coqui's name comes from the sound of his song, and it has become Puerto Rico's mascot and a brand because of its very essence. Like all of us, he is unique for his powerful talents. I'm short. Thank you. It is empowering to be unique, different like no one else, to follow your passions and talents and become simple in what you do in extraordinary ways. This is also what branding is all about. Following our passion makes us and what we do unique. Passionate people will naturally push for excellence in their chosen field, it be arts, science, technology, or in my case, graphic design. Finding your passion starts with who you are, which is often defined by unique family history, culture, personality, and talents. Following and trusting your passion means letting go of fears and taking risks. But this will lead you to a jagged, but always upward path. I bet this looks familiar to many of you, right? The ups and downs in life. Well, that is exactly how I got started. I followed my passion and talent with graphic design, and things have always followed jaggedly but upward. My story starts in Puerto Rico, where I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, with the mixture of traditions of all these cultures: Spanish, Cuban, Mexican, French, British, Puerto Rican, and American, of course, many times not knowing what came from which culture. So I am proud to be an authentic blend of cultures.
Sometimes our family's talents, history, and successes define who we become. For example, my grandmother was a fashion designer, my grandfather a shoe designer, and my dad a successful business owner. So who am I today? I am a graphic designer and a successful business owner. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? Since I'm talking about empowerment, let's talk about the power of your own style. Ken Grossman would totally agree. Your style also represents who you are. Let's look at famous fashion icons who created their unique style and what they say about it. Let's start with most famous woman style icon in history, Coco Chanel, who broke the mold, producing revolutionary designs for the working women. One of her famous quotes says, "In order to be replaceable, one must always be different," which is what I'm talking about. And who knows about the 94-year-old fashion icon, Iris Apfel, famous for her eclectic style, mixing colors, patterns, and many accessories. She's known for great sayings like, "To have style, you have to know who you are." And wear something that says, "Here I am." Isn't this empowering? My personal style is simple. I love all things purple. Everybody who knows me knows that. And I am obsessed with shoes because my grandfather designed shoes and I inherited my mom's beautiful shoe collection from all over the world. In 2012, I was fortunate to be published on the cover of USA Weekend of an article about how shoes help you carry yourself, like walking with confidence and making you feel empowered. My father's style was very unique. He was very well known and famous for his signature mustache, and this became part of his brand and logo. My father taught me a lot in life and in business without me even realizing it. And a lot of people say I have become my dad, following his steps to the T. Leading a business, serving the community, and giving speeches to inspire others. But I strive to be as good as him someday, even if it means wearing a mustache. To feel more power. So that's what I'm going to do to honor him while I tell his story. And his legacy is so strong that even his grandchildren are following his steps. And it's been very, very successful career. Looks good. Looks beautiful. My father has been my biggest inspiration. Because he taught me through his life experiences that perseverance is the key to success. The Cuban Revolution, headed by Fidel Castro in the late 50s, caused my family to lose everything as the new government seized all private properties and businesses, including my grandfather's investment of all his life savings in his dream shoe factory. My whole family had to leave it all behind. My father struggled at the beginning, but he leveraged every opportunity he could find. He even worked in advertising, but eventually built a very successful real estate business, which was his true passion, and became a pioneer in the field. Because of my parents' history, then they always stressed the importance of education and to have grit, the passion and perseverance to excel. We were pushed to be competitive. To be number one was my dad's motto, to the point that he always wore a necklace with a number one charm. Quite the motivation. My passion for art started in the 8th grade. I had a great teacher as my mentor, and my artistic talents were recognized when I won a big poster competition, and that was my aha moment. You can see that here from the pages. I decided I wanted to go to art school to study graphic design, but my dad's opinion was that only architecture was the smart art career. The truth is that he didn't want me working in the advertising world because he saw that industry from close, and back then it was the stereotypical man. Well, I was stubborn then as I am now, and I fought for my career choice. I was really passionate about it, and yes, I got my way. You always have to fight for what you believe in. That is empowerment. I got accepted into Rhode Island School of Design, also known as RISD, among only 350 freshmen from all over the world. This was quite an accomplishment since it has been ranked many times as the best graphic design school in the world. Going to art school was harder than what I ever imagined. But to follow your passion means making many sacrifices. It was difficult for me to adjust being away from my family in an environment I knew no one, and the worst, the freezing weather, with snow on the ground up to my knees for months. I remember the first year there was snow in May. Remember where I came from. Tiny Tropical Island, where I used to hang out on the beach every single weekend. That's sacrifice. My motivation to do well was never grades, but my pride. And that is a very powerful incentive. Teachers had us pin our creative work up on a wall, and everybody had to critique it. Talk about making sure your work was good. I remember a few times that my work was criticized badly, and it was the most horrible feeling in the world. But that only pushed me to work harder and do better. The schedule at RISD was harsh, classes all day, and just work on projects all night. And I remember telling myself, no need to stress, I can do this. I have all night. I recall that during my first semester, I had 16 all-nighters in a period of 12 weeks. Pretty crazy. But this hard work and discipline shaped me for the rest of my life. And I still pull all-nighters even when I have to, like just this past Monday. My first job was a very small graphic design firm in a very small town in Massachusetts, where I knew no one, and I was making very little money. So I survived eating ramen noodles. But this job was a great experience because it gave me the opportunity to get a much better job in less than 2 years. I worked with a headhunter in New York and received an offer with a graphic design firm here in Louisville, and they relocated me in 1992. And they doubled my salary. I remember the joy of finally being able to buy my first piece of furniture, a teal couch. I kept this couch forever because it symbolized the moment I acquired my financial independence at the age of 23. What a powerful feeling. I planned on staying in Louisville for 2 years, but it has been 30. Because people's friendliness here reminds me of my own people, my own culture, and I love it. I was afraid then I was going to be like the only Hispanic. But the truth is that Louisville has had an amazing transformation throughout the years, and there is so much diversity. Something that is really special to me is that Louisvillians have embraced me the same way that Puerto Rico embraced my father. He was Cuban and Puerto Rico embraced him as a Puerto Rican. So this is home for me. And I am a proud Louisvillian, and I'm committed to make this community better. The graphic design firm I worked here in Louisville when I first moved wasn't involved in New York. I recall that every time I had a big creative challenge in front of me, I would get really nervous, but would tell myself I can do this. That gave me the confidence to clear my mind and deliver good ideas. There is no stronger power than the one of your own mind. This is something my father really taught me. And he would say, focus on what you want and make it happen. This is something to embrace and use as we face difficult challenges. Positive thinking is extremely powerful, and it removes barriers. It helps us see clearly and find solutions, keeping us focused on the desired end result. I still remember vividly a great achievement of mine as a kid. As I jumped into the pool to do my first swimming competition, I told myself over and over again in my mind, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, I'm going to win. And I won. It works. The darkest time of my life started the minute I heard that my mom had brain cancer. This happened in 2001, and after a 10-month battle, I lost my dear mom, my confidant, and my best friend. My 94 then, 5-year-old grandmother was devastated as my mom was an only child. And I feared she would give up wanting to live. So I needed to be her rock. And I took a leave of absence from work to spend 3 months with her in Puerto Rico. I was married then, and I had postponed going through in vitro fertilization because of my mom's illness. I decided I needed something to look forward to, so I decided to go through this process while I was in Puerto Rico. It was a very emotional and challenging time for me. The day that the doctor called me to report that the procedure did not work, I called my employer and to announce that I was just coming back to Louisville, to which he answered, "You do not have a job anymore." Losing my mom, caring for my grandma, a failed in vitro, and losing my job all together was very painful. But you have to believe that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. My dad had always encouraged me to open my own business, but now I did not want to have my own business because all my life I saw him work relentlessly 24/7. I saw the many sacrifices he had to make as a business owner, all the time away from the family, working nights and weekends, and I knew I would have to do the same thing. But it was time for me to embrace this possibility and make a new commitment in my life. So I started my business from a little closet off of the bedroom. And just like the Coquille, I named my company after myself and after what I do. INgrid Design, Ingrid is my name, and grid is a graphic design term, just by coincidence and luck. And we emphasize the in our logo because we are all in for our clients and all we do. Our colors are strategic. Purple, my ultimate favorite color, but it also represents innovation and creativity through luck. And yellow is the color of optimism and enlightenment, a very powerful and meaningful combination for the branding of my business. Look into the psychology of color. It is fascinating and powerful, and it helps to highlight your unique qualities in a brand. Because of 9/11 terrorist attacks, my husband then was on active duty with the Kentucky Air National Guard, and he got deployed to go to the war in the Middle East, just after a few months of all the losses that I've been through. And then I feared losing the love of my life. This was a very stressful time for me. This war was just starting then, there was a lot of uncertainty. He was gone for months, I was home alone, anxious, stressed, working nonstop because now I had a new business and great clients to serve. And guess what? These past years with COVID, I felt exactly the same way. Uncertain, home alone, anxious, stressed, and working nonstop, but to save my business. Fortunately, my husband then came back home safe and he retired from the Guard, and he was able to help me with the business. For years, we continued trying to have a baby through IVF, and that was quite an emotional roller coaster. But after 4 failed in vitros and 6 years working together, it was enough. We got divorced. Well, guess what? I survived, and I learned that with every loss, there is a gain, and I actually became a stronger person. During the divorce process, it was very interesting that my ex-husband said, "Well, I would like to buy the business." And I thought, wow, that would be nice. I would move back closer to my family, start something somewhere else. But then I thought, no, I cannot do this. My business is my baby. That child I never had, and my team is my family here. They are indeed my strongest motivation to fight for the success of the business. They are the heart of the business. Starting my business through the most difficult year of my life and fighting for it have been the best decisions of my life. Imagine we just celebrated 20 years during the hardships of the pandemic. Even though I started from a small closet, then upgraded to the bedroom, then moved to the basement, and then I managed to have 2 employees, and what happened was I felt the growing pains, So I remember back then a client called me and wanted me to do a huge project, and at the time we were already committed with another big project, and I had to say no. Who does that? So that is the moment I realized I had to grow the team. And embracing that possibility of growing the business led to even more possibilities. I purchased a building in the Highlands on Baxter Avenue so I could hire more great designers to meet all of our client needs. I found talented professionals that are as passionate as I am and created my ideal team. I even expanded the building several years ago to double its size to accommodate more growth. And with this growth, we expanded our capabilities and continued exceeding our client expectations with award-winning design solutions year after year, creating and cultivating lifelong relationships. Having key clients for more than 12 years, some have 20 years, and employees for 10 to 16 years proves that once you get in, you stay in with us. But growth has also brought the challenges of running and maintaining a bigger business. Remember, my background is in design and not business. But I have learned that I need to surround myself with people smarter than me to learn how to tackle some of these challenges, including Maggie, of the many mentors here at Rotary. I have especially learned a lot through my all-women CEO roundtable with the National Association of Women Business Owners. And we've been together for years, and we meet every month, and even though we all represent different industries, we share very similar challenges. We talk about issues, discuss business topics, share best practices, and they were a huge support during COVID. So to have this kind of support is very powerful. This is actually a business trip to Puerto Rico before the pandemic, and we just came back from Napa last week. COVID brought us the biggest challenges ever. Reduced workloads and budget freezes forced us to reduce expenses, salaries, and do layoffs. And we were celebrating some successes in 2021, but it all changed again, suddenly with a significant client budget reduction. Up and down, just like the jagged path. The bad situation turned into the opportunity to diversify our client base and get out of our comfort zone to grow in a different way. And now, after a lot of effort and hard work, the future is looking bright again. I also had to get out of my comfort zone with the decision to remodel the new large building that I purchased on Marston Road right before the pandemic. The minute I realized that with social distancing, I would never be able to bring my team back together, I had to take this risk. My vision to have a great space for my team became a reality, and we finally moved back into our remodeled offices in May 2021. I am very happy that my passion, perseverance, and that voice inside that tells me I can do this when the time to talk, led me to the right path. Even though it has been jagged, it has always been upward at the end. To close, I would like to share a powerful quote from Tierra Cabana in her memory. She was the owner of TKT and Associates and an inspiration to many in this community. Perseverance and willingness to adapt to change is key. Get out of your comfort zone and take a risk. This journey is not for the faint of heart, but it's a ride well worth taking. So after you have accomplished overcoming challenges and persevered to achieve your dreams, please empower others with your knowledge. And one more thing. Whoever guesses how many times I said the word power or a variation of it gets the frog. Thank you. Sure.
So Ingrid's going to take a couple of questions. The first one comes from me. At the beginning of your talk here, you said, follow your passion. I mean, I'm a fan of Joseph Campbell. I think Judd probably knows who that is. And he has a little saying that says, follow your bliss. And you gave a couple things, but what would be the first step in following your passion for some of those?
Well, it's a little bit of the speech. I think it goes to searching what makes you happy and where your talents are, because if you're good at something, you're going to enjoy doing that. So I believe that it's really soul searching, like what you love doing, that activity that you spend time and it may be, you think it's minutes, but it's been hours because you're enjoying it so much and you're good at it and people celebrate it and you feel satisfied and you feel that it has a purpose in your life and you feel happy and satisfied. That all to me is your passion. You're going to do whatever it takes when you're doing what you love doing. And I believe that is what passion is all about.
Thank you. Does anybody have a question for Ingrid? The microphone's right up here.
I'll go. What's next for you?
We are, oh gosh, it's been the toughest year of our 20-year journey. So we are actually killing it right now. We're so busy in new clients, new opportunities, big stuff coming, and I could just not be any happier. So the future is bright. I see expansion, hiring more people to accommodate all the needs that are coming, and yeah, I'm just ready to plan the next 20 years.
Ingrid, my name is Tom, and I'm always fascinated by an artistic person who builds a successful business, because there are both sides of your brain, right? And so this might be an entire new presentation for you, but can you talk about the learning of managing a business after just learning to be an artist?
Very good question. When I was in high school trying to decide, and I always was passionate about art, but I was really good in math. And that's kind of both sides of the brain, so it doesn't really make sense, right? And I loved math, but of course I went with the arts, totally more satisfying than math. So I really did not do an MBA, always wanted to do it and wanted to learn about business, and I didn't know really. So I have heard that a lot of the better leaders are creative people, because I think, this is what I heard, that your creative solutions, it's all problem solving. So as a creative, that's what you do. You're solving problems visually, but you're solving a problem. So it is sort of the same kind of way of thinking, but in a different way. So running a business is very different than being creative. I think it's very hard. It is being intuition in the most part, but I have seen really good counseling. The NAVO roundtables, women supporting women, mentors. I've sought advice. I mean, I've got an HR consultant, I have a lawyer, I have a CPA, I've got the people that help me with the things that I don't know. So it is all being a learning experience, and the learning is not over. It's a learning experience every day. There's a lot to learn, and I love to learn, so I think maybe that's why you have to keep learning always.
Ingrid, loved your presentation. I'm Cynthia, and I was actually going to ask you about working on your business versus in your business, but he just asked that. I'm so sorry.
But that's a little bit different because I do both. Which you say you can't, it's hard to do both, I do both.
I was going to ask about working on the business versus in the business, and then that work-life balance. I know. But then my other question was going to be, where do you see yourself in 10, 15, 20 years? Do you see, like, selling your business? Do you see retiring and then moving back to where it's warm? I was just kind of, have you given yourself that time to think ahead?
Always thinking ahead, always. I have the best of both worlds. After my dad passed, I bought his condo, and so I have a place in Puerto Rico. And nowadays, with remote working, I can be there for months and when I can, and work from there. And I've tried every January to skip the winter, and I will be Puerto Rico working remotely. So there is a little bit of those both worlds that I can integrate in my life. The next 20 years, my biggest vision is for the business to keep growing and keep, it's the home base for my team. I mean, it's what feeds my people and my clients. It's an entity that needs to keep growing. I see it as a child, and it's 20 years. I'm 21. I don't know, maybe I need more help to take it to the next level. I don't know how that looks like. There is so much I know how to do. So I do idealize that maybe someday there is some bigger, I don't know, knowledgeable business person that can help me guide it into a big next growth, bigger company. And bigger doesn't need to be huge, it's just certain, we're always very, very committed to quality, and our designers are the ones working with the clients directly. We don't have too many layers, and that is something that big agencies cannot provide. So I would never change our model, even if it's bigger in a, I don't know how that bigger means. Sometimes bigger is not better, but as long as we can serve the clients that want to be served, that's what matters. But I'm always going to be involved in creative things, no matter what it is. Creative creativity, that's what makes me happy, that's my passion. So, thank you.
How many times did somebody say
32. 21.
What?
32.
45.
10. 21.
16.
Oh, wait, what was that 22?
I said
There we go, Kevin. We have one more job to do, which you don't know about. But first of all, in your honor, Rotary is making a contribution to our Rotary West Global Housing Initiative. In your honor, for being our speaker today. Thank you very much. And now you get to pick out the door prize. And when I came in today, Colleen said, the door prize is up here. So I'm up here, and I'm seeing a mustache, and I'm seeing the beanie baby, and I almost took him back to my seat, so that would have been a problem. But anyway, what do we have today? We have a polio plus teddy bear. We've got a coffee mug, a pair of gray bronze sunglasses. In addition, we've got a ticket to the Kentucky Opera. I think it's the Gift of the Magi in December. So here, pick out a good one, Bobby.
487513.
513. We have a 51. There it is in the back. All right. Thank you, Ingrid, so much. Now we're almost through. I promise. Next week we're going to hear from athletic director of University of Louisville. There'll be a big crowd going. RSVP early. Bring some guests. Josh Hurd will be here talking about what athletic directors talk about, academics. Keep your day job, Walt. Ingrid, you kept talking about your dad, and Maggie, when you're up here going, she is the kind of person who I thought I was going to hear a So, and for those of you that don't know, Maggie's son Jack will be not only hosting, but also the musical entertainment on Saturday Night Live. The only other person I know there's been more to do that was Taylor Swift, but I'm kind of out of my league here now too. So, but anyway.
Go on sale at 10 o'clock in the morning, is that right?
Yes.
They went, yes.
Today.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
today.
pre-sale today,
Oh, I
and then
missed
they'll
it
be
already.
open to the public tomorrow, 10 a.m.
Open to
He's
the
going to
public
sell out
today.
the Young Center, people. We've got to star in our midst.
We absolutely do. Now, Walt's words of wisdom in honor of Ingrid and Hispanic Heritage Month. You're not lucky to be here. The world needs your perspective. They are lucky to have you. My favorite one on this happens to be down here. Why does everyone talk about the past? All that counts is tomorrow's game. That's from my favorite baseball player, Roberto Clemente, who died in a plane crash doing humanitarian work that Rotarians would do. The point is not to pay back kindness, but to pass it on. And then for the strong women of Rotary, and Frida Kahlo is also Hispanic, at the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can. Be the woman who fixes another woman's crown without telling the world that it was crooked. You've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it from yourself, from the Wizard of Oz. And that's the end of the day. We are adjourned. We have Rotary table down here for what is Rotary. Thank you and see you next week.